Hi, welcome to CT Chest Review, and today we're doing the 28th snippet of and just discussing the various connective tissue disease ILD patterns. A lot of our recent understanding comes from this paper from Chris Ryerson's group, where they looked at a bunch of CTDs and the patterns here. And while this graph is very nice and also introduces the concept of the fibrotic HP pattern, which can also occur in CTDs, you can rearrange the data. And I used ChatGPT, not Claude, to do this. It does it really well because then it tells you that they had a larger number of scleroderma patients, fewer SLE. So sometimes, if the numbers are less, then you can't really have very, let's say, perfect distribution numbers. But nevertheless, I think we get a sense that NSIP is the commonest pattern across board, except in RA where the UIP pattern is common. And then we get all these other different patterns, including the unclassifiable pattern, which is actually not uncommon. And they don't use the mixed patterns here, or for obvious reasons. So the dominant pattern is used here. And another way of looking at it is this, that NSIP is seen in about half the CTDs will have the NSIP pattern, but the fibrotic HP pattern is in 9% and then 20% UIP, etc. And then these are the raw numbers of the various connective tissue diseases and the dominant pattern that we have. And I distilled this from the paper because it's a useful placeholder for us, whenever we're looking at this kind of data. And there's another way of looking at the same data, and that is to use a heat map, which gives you from red. So, you have scleroderma and NSIP being the commonest here, or you have UIP and RA here, and then the ones that are not common going from deep blue to red. So with that, let's look at the patterns that we have. And here now we introduce the BIP pattern, which is the old fibrotic HP pattern. And I'll be doing a post in a week's time on the evolution of the BIP pattern. So just look for that. But until that, just remember that this is the fibrotic HP pattern. Now, I've not included the non-fibrotic patterns, which would be your diffuse alveolar damage, and OP can be and NSIP can both be fibrotic and non-fibrotic, as can be BIP. So you do have some overlaps, but nevertheless, we're just looking at the dominant non-acute patterns, if you may call it. The UIP pattern we know is reticular opacity, subpleural basal predominance, no other finding. In this patient, there is traction bronchiectasis and honeycombing in the non-dependent upper lobes, whereas the traction bronchiectasis is in the lower lobes. Patients are smokers, so we have moderate centrilobular emphysema, and this is a characteristic RA-UIP pattern. This patient has scleroderma, and we have honeycombing, subpleural basal predominance, reticular opacity, sharp margins, esophageal dilatation, nothing else. And this is classic scleroderma UIP. This patient has Sjogren's, so little asymmetric, but subpleural basal predominance, honeycombing, sharp margins here, and almost a straight edge, nothing else. And this is Sjogren's with a UIP pattern. Now, almost 3 or 4 years ago, I did a whole post on the variant UIP pattern. So, patients who have honeycombing, the findings look like UIP, but they show signs that raise the possibility of connective tissue disease. And this is useful in the setting where we still don't know that the patient has a CTD, and we're looking at all these signs. And one thing that I haven't included is the rapidly progressive ILD phenotype, and I'll probably do a separate post on that. But that's not a sign, that's just on follow up when we see rapid progression. So here is exuberant honeycombing. This is a UIP pattern, lots of cysts and honeycombing involving more than 70% of the lobe. This should raise the likelihood of ILD, or when we see these geographical areas of cystic change, which we can see in RA, SLE, etc. This is a reliable sign when we see it. So, exuberant honeycombing in the upper lobes, the non-dependent portions, typically would suggest an underlying connective tissue disease, as would these patients who have island-like fibrosis. And I've spoken about this as a separate post. Because this was a paper that came out a couple years ago, and then they said that the vasculopathic CTDs like SLE and scleroderma have these wedge-shaped areas with reticular opacities, traction bronchiectasis, honeycombing, and then the intervening lung is normal, and that's probably because there's been some kind of infarction that has led to this. And if you see these island areas of island-like fibrosis in the four corners, you call it the four corners sign, and that again is seen in a few connective tissue diseases. Now, in practice, in real life, the sign that works best for us is the straight edge sign. And if you see a sharp margin and straight edge in the coronal or sagittal plane, that tells us that this patient is likely to have a connective tissue disease, and see the undulating margin in a patient with UIP IPF. Another sign that specifically points towards scleroderma is these low attenuation areas. Now, this patient has a fibrotic NSIP pattern. It's not UIP. There is subpleural sparing, and I'll come to that in a minute. And then here we see these low attenuation areas, which are again because of the peripheral vasculopathy and lung destruction. So then that brings us to the NSIP pattern. Here is this patient, 49-year-old with scleroderma. We start seeing these reticular opacities with subpleural sparing, peripheral, little bit of associated ground glass, subtle traction bronchiectasis at the periphery. You see the subpleural sparing here. There is what we call temporal and spatial homogeneity. Temporal is because the lesions in the same section look to be of the same age, and spatial that they all look the same in terms of the morphology. And so if you were to just look at these four images, you can see a classic NSIP pattern with both fibrotic and non-fibrotic components. And the hallmark here is the subpleural sparing, and you can compare the subpleural sparing with the subpleural involvement of UIP. And it's also very well seen on the sagittal images, where you see this thin black rim separating. So the reticular opacities will still extend up to the pleura, but otherwise you get this little rim of black separating the rest of the ILD from the pleura, and that you get in 50% of NSIPs. 50% of NSIPs will look like this without the honeycombing, in which case you can't make out. So it just works the other way around. If we see subpleural sparing, chances are that we're dealing with an NSIP pattern. And here's another patient with Sjogren's who has a fibrotic NSIP pattern, the traction bronchiectasis, no honeycombing, and spatial and temporal homogeneity. And again, we can see this very sharp margin, and we can see the subpleural sparing. See this beautiful rim here. So you have to look for it. I mean, then you see it. And the patient has a straight edge sign as well. This patient has dermatomyositis. We again see the NSIP pattern. Now this one is there could be a mixed organizing pneumonia pattern, because you see a little bit of a wedge-shaped appearance here. And sometimes it's difficult to make that out. But the predominant pattern would be the NSIP pattern. This is very early disease, just subtle reticular opacities present on the prone images. You don't even see traction bronchiectasis, and this patient had a crest syndrome. This patient is where we've picked up scleroderma in a screening CT. Patient is completely asymptomatic, and we now have the new EULAR guidelines, which tell us that every patient with scleroderma, irrespective of the symptom status, needs to get one CT done at the time of diagnosis to look for lung disease, and then follow up at 2 years, 1 to 2 years, depending upon the situation. The same applies to myositis, ILDs, and MCTD. So here we can see the non-dependent reticular opacity. So that means that this is real. You see dependent lesions which have to be proven to be real on prone images, and then we have the answer. So this patient has an NSIP pattern which is asymptomatic. The organizing pneumonia pattern will present as areas of consolidation, which have a subpleural base. They could be subpleural, peribronchovascular, as we see here. You may get a reverse ground glass appearance. There are so many patterns. So this is RA with OP. And remember, the hallmark is consolidation. So the moment you see areas of increased opacity obscuring the vessels with air bronchograms and in a setting of a diffuse lung disease, that tells us that we're dealing with an OP pattern. Now, these are denser, and there's a lot of traction bronchiectasis and architectural distortion. So this is a fibrotic OP pattern. But see the classic peribronchovascular distribution of these lesions. The BIP pattern is the original HP pattern, and we now know that whatever looks like classic HP can actually be a pattern in patients with connective tissue disease, or there could be other etiologies as well. And as I said, I will do a separate post to explain the evolution of the BIP pattern, or the bronchiolocentric interstitial pneumonia pattern. And this is a patient with RA with these classic ill-defined centrilobular nodules and ground glass, which represents a non-fibrotic BIP pattern. And this is a patient with MCTD who has this classic fibrotic BIP pattern. You have the 3-density sign of normal lung, lucent lung, and ground glass. There is traction bronchiectasis as well. And sorry, this is a myositis ILD with a BIP pattern. Then we have lymphoid interstitial pneumonia, which is difficult to diagnose. The hallmark is the presence of perivascular cysts, and the commonest ILD we see it is in Sjogren's. Though if you take the whole cohort of Sjogren's, NSIP is still commoner, but if you take the whole cohort of LIP, then Sjogren's is the commonest, and that's important to know. We can't make the diagnosis on radiology without the presence of cysts. So the moment we see perivascular cysts and other interstitial lung diseases, we should think of a CTD-ILD. And of course, if the patient is known to have Sjogren's, then we can talk about LIP. Now, these are now considered cystic ILDs in the new updates and the new classification system. So here is a patient with Sjogren's who has perivascular cysts, just a little bit of ground glass, no other ILD, and this would still be called lymphoid interstitial pneumonia. PPFE is typically a secondary pattern. It usually exists with the other patterns. It's pleuroparenchymal fibroelastosis, and here we see a patient who has a progressive fibrotic NSIP pattern. The patient is a known case of scleroderma, and we can also see this progressive shrinkage of the upper lobes with subpleural reticular opacities with traction bronchiectasis, and this is your classic PPFE pattern, and you can see how that's progressed from April 16 to November 20. I've done an entire post on this, but this is the PPFE pattern, and almost 20% of patients with scleroderma will have a secondary PPFE pattern. In practice, we often see mixed patterns. So here we see subpleural sparing. So there's an NSIP pattern. There's a lot of peribronchovascular disease. So it's a mixed NSIP organizing pneumonia pattern. And this is the rapidly progressive ILD with a mixed pattern. So while I've not put it in patterns, the moment we see somebody progressing this rapidly, so in 3.5 months, the fibrosis has also progressed. If you look at the lower images, and now this is 3.5 months later, the traction bronchiectasis has progressed while there's some superadded infection here. And you can see that, and that's very alarming, and it commonly occurs in the myositis ILDs, anti-MDA5. This is an antisynthetase syndrome. But also we see an NSIP pattern and we see an OP pattern. So these are things to remember. So that was as far as the patterns are concerned. It was just to discuss the different patterns that we see in the different connective tissue diseases as a placeholder here. Don't forget the table of contents, my WhatsApp channel, the case of the day that I do Monday to Thursday, every week since March now. You know where to comment, email, subscribe, etc. Thank you so much for viewing this.